Hey, Mikaela, thanks for joining me. I'm so excited to talk to you. I was like doing a deep dive last night. You're a fascinating woman
Thank you.
out here
What'd you
getting shit.
find? What did you find?
Oh, we'll get into it, all sorts of things. But right now, for the people that are watching on YouTube, you have a sauna in your bedroom?
Okay, I do. So I just bought this really awesome house up in the mountains in Colorado, and it's a complete renovation project right now. So I don't currently have a bath, and usually part of my because we're renovating the bathrooms, and usually part of my training is I do my baths at night, my weight cut, use Epsom salt and all that. And so like, well, I'm like, shoot, don't have a bath. I need a sauna. Be kind of cool to have anyway. So it's currently in my bedroom, but um, kind of nice. I just hop on out, jump in the
Oh my
bed.
God. My husband's gonna be so jealous of this. We just moved in our old house. We had one, like used it all the time. And then yeah, we moved and we're like, where can we put one? We're trying to like find space to put one, but God, I love the sauna life. It's just the best.
Yeah, and I need it. It's like I've been fighting at 130 now for like 13 years, and it's just not doesn't get any easier. So,
God.
anywhere sweat helps.
How does the weight cut look at this point? I saw you kind of post the other day at what 141.
Yeah, so because WBC belt is on the line for this fight, there's weight checks throughout camp, which I've actually never
Oh,
had to
okay.
do. Um, but it's fine. The first weight check had to be 143. This next weight check coming up I have to be 138, and then 2 weeks from there 134. So yeah, I cut a lot of weight these days. So, but I have a great team. I work with perfecting athletes. Everything's very scientific. Um, Pretty good at eating right and doing all that. I don't crave sweets. I don't have a sweet tooth, so I
Good for
think is a
you.
huge bonus.
Yeah, I'm sure that that definitely helps significantly. I didn't have a sweet tooth in my life until I got pregnant. Now I'm like, give me all of the sugar all the time. And I just never kicked that ever after having the baby. But I know weight cuts always fascinate me, though, especially for women. It's so fascinating to me, like what you guys put your body through and how the science is all broken down with you guys. I was working with Misha Tate for a while doing a show together and talking to her about making her cuts and all that stuff. It just is like crazy what you guys do, but shit, you get the job done. Kudos.
Yeah, I mean, my goal is to go undisputed at 130, which means I need two more belts. This fight coming up September 10th will get me that third one.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to stay at 130 until I go undisputed. That's my goal, and then I'll probably hop on up to more comfortable weight, like 35.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. So it's all going down Saturday, September 10th, historic championship doubleheader at the O2 Arena in London. And is this an entire female card?
It is. And when they first brought this to my attention that this could be an option of me fighting for the co-main for Clarissa Shields versus Savannah
Mhm.
Marshall, I was super on board with it. And I was secretly hoping that they were going to make it an all-female card because me and Clarissa can obviously, we can carry a card on our own, but
Yeah.
put together, like, might as well. We're definitely going to make, this is going to be a huge fight. We're going to be able to sell it. And so let's put all females on the card. Let's just make it a huge female event. So I'm so glad they went and did that.
And at the O2, I mean, after coming off of the Amanda Serrano fight too. I mean, them at MSG with Katie Taylor, that MSG fight to what you guys are now doing at the O2. I mean, this is amazing for women in boxing. Like, could you have
Yeah.
imagined when you started in this business and in this sport that it would have grown the way that it has and now to get these eyeballs on women?
That's a hard question to answer. Everyone keeps asking me that, and like part of me goes, yeah, duh. Like I feel like every woman in this era of women's boxing, like the top girls right now, we always had to believe that we would be at this position, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I mean, I told myself I wanted to be the best female fighter in the world back when women weren't allowed to compete in the Olympics. Promoters weren't signing us professionally. This was like Gina Carano days, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I just had a passion. I just knew that I don't know how I was going to get it done, but I just knew I was passionate about this sport and I was going to get it done. And I feel like all of us women in this era had to believe that. So to an extent, yes, we always believed it'd be at this point, but it's like we couldn't really imagine it in this detail because we didn't know how it, sort of like evolving year after year, trying to grow in this market.
It's so cool to see too. I mean, especially to be able to see the growth happened. Like, so I come from the world of like professional wrestling. And when we look at like what the women were able to do, like from even like when I started there like 8, 9 years ago to what the women are doing now. And over that time, it's like to see that actually happen. And same within UFC, to see like the women really getting those main event spots, getting much better pay, getting like the different sponsorships, all that stuff. It's so amazing to be able to see that all kind of come together for everybody. Who
Yeah.
are some of the people that you would really put on championing women's boxing? Because there's so many people behind the scenes that also get this done.
It's so interesting because, back in the day you had there was like this little spike in women's boxing, right? You had Layla Ali, Ann Wolf, Mia St. John, in that era of women's boxing. And then for like 10 years, there was nothing. Nothing. I mean, we finally were allowed to compete in the Olympics. They allowed that. And I think that was the biggest thing they could have done for us because it allowed us women to compete at the highest possible level.
Mm-hmm.
And then we can only grow from there, right? And so now, this era of women's boxing, I mean, these girls are going to go down in history.
Yeah.
The girls, just think about the 4 girls on this card. Yes. I mean, and then Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano. These girls doing this now are really just setting the tone for the next generation.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that's always been a huge goal of mine is I didn't have a path to follow when I was coming up in this sport. Like
Yeah.
people literally laughed at the idea that I said I was going to be a professional boxer. Like they said, okay, like good luck. That doesn't exist. But, that I think that's a goal for a lot of us is just for the next generation to be like, hey, what is the blueprint? How do we follow it? Like the men have that blueprint and us women didn't. So now it's there and all the women now have all contributed in their small way or big way.
Does it feel different heading into a full female card? We got to do that with WWE. We had our very first all women's pay-per-view, WWE Evolution, and we had women doing commentary. I got to be on commentary for that. The women from, top to bottom. I feel like we even had more women like writers and producers on staff. That might be a question mark next to that. But it just had that really cool energy of like women supporting each other. We knew how big this was, like everyone working together as much as there can be like the shit that happens inside the ring is one thing. And, obviously for you guys, you can talk about that. But in terms of like everyone really banding together and knowing that like, damn, something really special is happening right now.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I knew it was going to be special. Like a lot of people kind of gave me a little bit of crap because they're like, you and Alicia Baumgardner should be your own main event. Like, why are you agreeing to be the co-main event for Shields Marshall? And I'm like, I don't have that ego when this was like brought to my attention. My ego didn't kick in and say, oh, what about me being the main event? Like that literally didn't cross my mind. I thought like, wow, this could be so iconic. This could be so unique. This could be setting a new tone for boxing in general, not just women's boxing, because you usually don't get more than one awesome matchup on a card in boxing. You do the UFC, but you really don't in boxing. And so I'm like, this could set a new tone. We have like 3 different promoters working together, 3 different networks. I'm like, this is awesome. And this is great. And this is going to give the fans a one-stop shop to see 2 fights that maybe if it was separated that they wouldn't been able to like afford or get to both of these fights. And so it's a one-stop shop for the fans, which I'm all about the fans. I say like we're entertainers at the end of the day. So these fans are everything to us. And so I think it's just awesome. And I'm like so stoked about it. And I'm still getting a little bit of shit from it from some people, but I think it's iconic and I think it's going to be one of the greatest boxing events of all time.
How's the pressure feel? How does that kind of weigh on your shoulders of not only just like this fight? I mean, obviously you've been in these like mega pressure cooker situations before competing at the Olympics and whatnot. Where does this kind of rank amongst that for you?
I'm at the point in my career where every fight is the biggest fight of my life because I've worked so hard to get to this level. And this is not a forgiving sport. Sure. I mean, one slip up, one loss, and you're written off by a lot of people, not just by your promoters, and your stock goes down, everything goes down, but like, it's just a brutal, rough sport. And so everything's on the line. There's definitely, with each win comes more and more pressure. But I think that I've had like a gradual, I've gradually had to deal with more and more and more and more pressure. It's not like I've just been thrown into everything. I think I've had a very good career. I had a lot of ups and downs and like general growth where I've just been able to easily handle a little bit more pressure, handle more challenging opponents. And so I just feel like I'm in a really good place. I feel like Top Rank has moved me really well. My
Yeah.
team really moved me well. And like, I feel like supported. I have a great team. I can trust in them. I can rely on, everything we've done in training camp. I don't have to overthink and stress about it. I sort of just say like, okay, I trust my team. I trust the process and just take the pressure off myself.
Yeah.
There might be a lot more pressure that kicks in once they get to the UK. The UK
Yeah.
love boxing over there. It's like the
Those
football.
crowds are nuts.
Yeah,
Holy.
it's like, which is one of the reasons I wanted to get over to the UK, because I know that they love boxing over there, and it's a little bit more difficult here in America. The market's a little tougher. You're competing with so much. There's so much competition for the media's attention, and but there it's already built. So I'm sure the pressure will be there. It's going to be a huge stage, huge arena, lots of people. But yeah, I'm ready for that pressure. I'm ready. I've asked for it. I've always called it privileged pressure,
Oh, I like
because
that.
there's plenty of people who would kill to be in my position, and so I'm lucky.
Does that kind of keep like a chip on your shoulder, the way that media reacts to boxing and women's boxing in particular?
Here in
Yeah.
America?
Yeah.
No, because I knew what I was getting into. It's not like when I started boxing that it was already like this developed sport, and I had all these idols to look up to with amazing careers. Like, it wasn't like
Mm-hmm.
that. I knew what I was getting into. I think that's just sort of like my personality in general, though. Like, I always have taken the hard path, haven't been afraid of challenges, and so I knew it was going to be tough. Like I
Yeah.
said, when I started boxing, we weren't allowed to compete in the Olympics. Promoters weren't signing us. I don't know what I was thinking. I was like, to
That's
me,
where
I'm
I'm
like, what
going.
were you thinking? You crazy little girl. Um, but yeah, look where we are now. So yeah, it's just a continuing. It's just a process. I may never reap the full benefits of my hard work and like
Hmm.
what I've tried to accomplish. I may never reap those full benefits, and I'm okay with that. I'm This era is still pioneer. We're still pioneering the sport, the
Sure.
women era. So, but we're doing our part, and the next generation is gonna definitely benefit from it.
Certainly. And while you guys are paving that way and busting your ass doing that and working together to make the sport better, let's talk a little shit on Alicia Baumgardner. Let's get into
So,
it. How have you been preparing for this fight? How is she different from some of your other opponents? Where's your headspace with her right now?
well, a little bit of history. I'm just gonna give a little bit of back history. Me and Alicia Baumgardner, we this is actually the third attempt to get in the ring with Alycia Baumgardner. Um, Back when the pandemic first hit and I fought Helen Joseph, that fight was originally supposed to be Alycia Baumgardner.
Okay.
And she didn't think she had enough time. I mean, none of us did. The pandemic first hit and they called us and they're like, we can get on this card, first sporting event back, and since the pandemic, it's in 4 weeks. I wasn't in camp. Shoot, I was rollerblading in my living room, drinking wine with all my girlfriends, because we all thought we were on vacation, right?
Who didn't Amazon Prime some roller skates during the pandemic?
I
Guilty.
did, yes. So that's what I was doing. But when I got the call, I'm like, hell yeah, let's go. She didn't have that mindset, so she ended up saying no, I don't have enough time. Helen Joseph stepped up, and then we tried to get it again with her, and the Nevada State Athletic Commission wouldn't approve her because they didn't think her quality of opponents were up to par for a world title fight.
Okay.
Um, so here we go again, and then she goes and she beats Terry Harper, who I was building a rivalry with Terry Harper, right? We had this big rivalry going. I was trying to get that fight. She kept taking other fights, kept taking other fights. So that fight never happened because Alicia Baumgardner came in and she knocked Terry Harper out. Great. She did what she had to do. I can't say anything bad about that. She went in there, she did what she had to do. But me as a champion, what I'm going to do is now I'm going to call you out. Now I'm going to come for you. Now I'm going to say, okay, say my name. Like she would, after her wins, and they say, what's next for you? I was saying I want the champs. She was never saying my name. So that's where the beef started. And I was like, say my name. You want to be a champion, you want to be undisputed, then say my name. Let's fight. And I
Right.
was really trying to get that fight done. And she was telling everybody that I was gonna have to wait and blah blah blah. And it was her time. And whatever. But no, not happening. We got this fight done in 6 months after she got that world title. And so yeah, this is what women's boxing needs. We need these rivalries. We need these big
Yes.
fights. And so I didn't want to make the fans wait.
And also like you do a pretty great job at the shit talking aspect of it. I mean, as I'm like going through your training, like obviously Clarissa Shields, great at that too, at like stirring up some controversy, getting some attention on what you guys are doing. How much do you think about that? About how
It's
much more attention that can kind of drum up from really getting that story out there?
I noticed that when that with Terry Harper, when we started building this rivalry in the beef, I'm like, man, these boxing fans, they just love it. They eat it up. They're gonna talk shit about you, but they freaking love it. Um, but the rivalry with me and Baumgardner is very genuine.
Mhm.
Like, I think that's where the biggest rivalries come from, is like not when you're faking it or trying to be anything. Like I genuinely dislike her, um the way she delivers herself. Like I just dislike it, and I think that everything that I've said, talking shit wise, has just been facts. I have not
Yeah.
lied. I have just spoken facts. She may not like to hear these facts, but they're absolutely true. She's the type of shit talker who does low blows, digs, wants to talk about, the way I look in my body and all this kind of stuff. So
Boo.
I don't respect that. I'm just a champion trying to fight. I'm trying
Yeah.
to fight the best. That's what champions do. So that's where my beef comes from.
Oh my gosh. I'm like super. I cannot wait to watch you guys fight September 10th and at the O2. It's such a great, iconic arena to be in. And like with those fans, like the energy there is going to be like palpable. I
I
will
know.
certainly be getting my eyes on there. All right, let's rewind things. Let's talk about you being that young girl wanting to get into boxing, and there wasn't this blueprint for you to follow, no path really for you to kind of figure out what you wanted to do. Where does your love stem from?
Man, honestly, I was not, I was just a messed up little teenager. I was in like my fourth high school. Um,
Do you move a lot?
no, I just got
Oh.
in trouble.
Uh, what were you doing?
I mean, got kicked out of my first school for fighting. Then, my next school, it was like, I didn't know anybody there. And so like, I was only there for a semester, and I was like, okay, dad, let me go to homeschool. Let me go to homeschool. And, he finally let me go to homeschool. And then basically I just had to do homework at home and go to class like once a week to turn in my shit. And, obviously I didn't do that because now I like on my own to do what I want. And I never did that. So I fell way
Yeah.
behind, ended up in continuation school, which is that small little school attached to the big school.
Okay.
Um, we're all like I can cuss on here, right? This is YouTube.
Let it
All the
fly.
let's go. Yeah. So I ended up there. And that's when I started. It was my senior year, I ended up at that school. And that's when I was like, okay, Mikaela, like I want to be good at something. I was like, I just want to be good at something. Like this is not really what I really ever expected myself to be doing. Um, like I want to be good at something. And like, let's just start by trying something new. Like get your ass back into sport. Cause my dad always had me in sports growing up and stuff. But as a teenager, I was like, eh. So never did any high school sports or anything. And like I was just literally ditching class every day. I was smoking a pack of cigarettes a day
Oh
when I
my God.
decided.
The good
When I
old
decided,
days, right? Hack them
yeah.
up. Hack a dart, bud.
I know. When I was like, okay, let's just walk into that Muay Thai kickboxing gym that you've been walking past for years. That's like in your neighborhood.
Hmm.
And so I did. I walked in there, signed myself up. It was $100. I pulled the last $100 out of my bank account. I always worked. I had a job since I was like 15 years old, right? Because I always wanted money,
Hmm.
and pulled it out. And within like a couple weeks, I was like, there was only 3 women's classes a week, and I wanted to be there every day. So I asked the coach, can I go to the men's classes too, which are the other 3 days a week? And I was just obsessed. I just wanted to be really, really good. It was so challenging to me. I was like, if I just keep showing up and keep showing up, I just keep getting better. Like it
Yeah.
was like this concept, so easy. It's just a simple-minded concept, but um, it just sounded so intriguing to me. And like I said, I was hungry to be good at something. And yeah, started showing up every day, stopped drinking, stopped smoking, stopped going out on the weekends, lost all my friends. And I just became like obsessed with this idea of being a great fighter. Like I said, this was Gina Carano days, like
Yeah.
when she was really the only female fighter known, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, yeah. And just passion. I just fell in love with the sport.
So how did Muay Thai lend you into getting into the boxing world? When did you decide to make that jump?
It was a year. I did Muay Thai for a year, and then my coach was like, "Well, to stay busy in between getting Muay Thai fights, you should take some boxing fights.
Okay.
Keep your hands sharp, whatever." And I'm like, "Okay, cool." And then I had like this little tweak in my, I was like just learning how to use my body muscles. So like I had this tweak in my back, I couldn't kick, and so I just started boxing. I took a boxing fight in downtown LA, and stopped a
What
girl
was
and said,
that like? What was that first fight like? Like, what was that environment like?
oh, just it was a typical boxing gym in East LA. Like it was called Eddie Heredia's. And back then, LA was a great place to come up boxing because you would just show up at the fights on the weekend, like people, the local club shows or like gym gym fights, and you'd show up and you'd give your name, you give them your weight and how many fights you had, and then you'd hope to get matched up. And so that's what we would do. Like every weekend we would try and go get a fight. And so it was great. It was so cool. I loved it. I think I boxed my first fight in running shoes and Muay Thai shorts. I looked like a total dork, but I stopped her in the second round, and I never went back to Muay Thai after that. I just saw like there was more of a ladder to climb, I feel like, in boxing in America and the US, especially living in LA. And you're right, that vibe that I got at the boxing gym just wasn't the same as Muay Thai. And so
Yeah.
I just stuck with boxing. And 2 years later, they announced that they were going to allow women into the Olympics, 2012, London.
Wow. And then 4 years later, there you are fighting
Yeah.
for like, wow, what a
They
jump.
announced it. They announced it. And I was like, okay, well, now I need a coach. Like, I had a great coach, but he was a Muay Thai guy. I'm like, I need a coach who's going to get me to the top. And my dad was like super supportive because he had saw me be this little up teenager to like all of a sudden completely dedicated to this craft and like total 180, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he was like, went looking online, the USA Boxing website, and he found this program in Northern Michigan where I could go to school. And I was 19, so I should probably have been going to college now, right? So I was like, we can go to college and train with a 2-time Olympic coach, Al Mitchell. And I'm like, okay, Dad, sure, look into it. And he hustled to get me into that program because they never had a female before. And my dad was like, well, they are allowing women into the Olympics now. You got to take my daughter, blah, blah, blah. And that to this day, 2 weeks later, I was on a plane to this program in Northern Michigan, from LA to Northern Michigan,
Oh
freaking
my,
North
what a
Pole.
culture shock that is, huh?
It was such a culture
Welcome.
shock, but I was so hungry and I wanted to be the best, and like that was what's going to get me there. To this day, that coach, I mean, he's upstairs taking a nap right now before a training
Oh,
session. Like we've been together now for like 13 years, and so
wow.
I stuck with him. That program, I never finished college, and the program got canceled, and I lost the funding and everything. But I was like, I am not leaving this coach. This is the coach that's going to get me to the top. And you're right. 2000, a couple of years later, I was in the finals of Olympic trials, going up against girls who had like years on me, right?
Yeah.
And didn't win that first Olympic trials. I lost in the finals to Queen Underwood, but then stayed amateur for 4 more years and hustled to make the 2016 team.
What a journey. It's actually like crazy to me, like reading your bio and it's like, oh, didn't start boxing or like getting into like the fight world until like late in life. And I was like, 17. Since when is that late in life? Like that seems really young. When do people
I
normally get
know.
into it?
In hindsight, I thought I was very early like bloomer. Like I was like doing my thing, whatever I want, no curfew at like 12, 13 years old, right? So when I had that epiphany at 17 where I was like, I want to be good at something, and I'm like, don't want to do this anymore. I just want to like have a skill, be successful. I thought that was late. In hindsight, I'm like, oh shit, I got my shit together early. But it is late to start an Olympic sport. And in boxing too. A lot of these people are starting at, 8 years old.
Oh my, I didn't even know you could get into boxing at 8.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
gonna,
you can't. These girls
wow.
are boxing very, very early. So I thought I started late, but women peak later in the sport anyways. We didn't have the opportunities and stuff that the men had at the young age. And so a lot of the top women right now, we are in our early 30s.
I'm a big fan of that like early mid 30s sweet spot that I feel like men get their sweet spot. There's is like a little bit different, but I think for women that like mid 30s is like shit is firing on all cylinders, mentally, physically. You got like so much more experience under your belt. Do
Mm-hmm.
you feel that like sweet spot really like bubbling for you?
Oh yeah, for sure. I don't even feel like I've hit my prime yet.
Yeah.
And I don't have a ton of miles on me. Like I said, it didn't start till I was 17. So I feel like, yeah, I just now am peaking. Like I feel like the most physical, like physically as an athlete, my body's coming into its own, and I feel strong mentally. And yeah, I think I'm at a great age. I love it. And even Alicia made comments like, I'm already at my best. You see my best. You really haven't seen my best. She's been
Yeah.
boxing since she was 8 years old. If anyone's peaked, it's her. Like I'm still growing, I'm still learning, and I'm still peaking. And yeah, I feel great at this age.
Was there ever a time during this journey from like walking into that Muay Thai gym, getting into boxing to now going on to co-main event at the O2 Arena? Was there ever a point that you're like, man, I don't know if this is going to be for me? Was the uphill battle ever not really in your favor?
Oh yeah, I had a lot of ups and downs coming up. It wasn't like it wasn't just like this to me. Thank
Yeah.
God I had a great coach. I mean, Coach Al, he got the reason I was able to excel so at such a fast pace is because of his training and coaching. So I'm lucky I had that. But there was a lot of ups and downs. I lost a lot before I won.
Mm-hmm.
Um, And wait, what was the question?
Did you ever think you were going to walk away from the
Oh, yeah.
sport, or like that it
Oh,
wasn't
okay.
worth the battle?
So yeah, but no, like I never, ever, ever felt that way. And I can genuinely say that. Like there was definitely hard times. I've cried, I've lost, um, but I, I never gave up on it because there was something about waking up every day and knowing my purpose that like just gave me like hope, because I think that's the most important thing you can find as a young person. Like again, I thought I found it late, but I
Oh my
didn't. Is
God,
finding something,
honestly.
yeah, you're passionate about,
Yeah.
because and young people too. And I think it has such an effect too when it comes to mental health and everything these young people are dealing with. I mean, you've got to have a passion. So I'm so lucky I found that in boxing. I didn't care how hard it was. I had a passion. I was passionate about it.
I mean, you talk about being like a kid, like 12, 13, getting into trouble, kind of doing your own thing, where you were that kid that just grew up really fast.
Yeah, I mean,
What kind of put you in that situation?
I had to. My dad got custody of me and my two sisters when I was 12, going on 13, and so the first 13 years of our life, my mom was an alcoholic addict, and so we dealt with that. And when my dad got custody of us, it was obviously a huge relief. Like my dad was amazing. We loved our dad so much. Love our dad. He's um but it was still a huge adjustment. He had a full-time job, and he now had three young girls under his roof.
Oof.
And he was gone. He was gone before the sun came up, and didn't get home until the sun was down. And so I was pretty much had a lot of, probably too much freedom at too young of an age.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, went a little crazy. And my dad did the best, but I mean, he was gone. He was gone a lot. He was working. He was trying to keep the roof over our head.
Those are such like interesting years too, as you're like figuring out who you are and you do have that freedom. I'm sure most of your other friends probably didn't have that kind of a freedom, but for you to recognize like, hey, this has been like fun and all for a hot second, but now it's time to like, what am I going to do with my life?
Yeah.
I feel like sports are such like I grew up playing a ton of sports too, and I couldn't imagine not having that thing to focus on, that thing to care about, like learning that discipline that comes with playing a sport.
Mm-hmm.
I think about that all the time, having a daughter now that I'm like, kid, you're 14 months now, but guess what? By the time you're 3, we're putting you in a bunch of sports.
Yes.
I think it's so important to like to just have those outlets and things to do and other things to focus on. Because if otherwise, it's like, yeah, keep the packs of cigarettes coming and
Yeah. Otherwise, you just run crazy. And I know, growing up in the valley of LA,
mm-hmm.
it wasn't like I didn't, my friends weren't, I mean, I had older friends. People were out doing whatever they wanted to. It
I
wasn't
bet.
like sheltered little suburban
Uh-huh.
town where like, I mean, I just listen to some people I know now, like what they were when they were 16, 17 versus what I was. I'm like, oh my God, it was just night and day. Just so different. So yeah.
What about the modeling side of things? Because you were into modeling, you still sometimes take some modeling gigs. What drew you to that?
Modeling was something that I thought that I wanted to do when I was a young teenager, because everyone said I should, because I was
Mm-hmm.
skinny as a rail, and they just thought I should be a model, and so it was something that I attempted to do and tried to do. And I genuinely think it didn't work out because it just wasn't something I was really passionate about. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So yeah, that was just like a little fling, and anything I do now is just fitness based
Yeah.
because got too much
Get
muscle
those
for other
guns out
stuff.
there. Let them see what you're working with. Though I do feel like the modeling world nowadays, I mean, you have a name to attach to everything that you're doing as well, but the way that it's changed and the way that we view women, it's not just that like stick thin, wafy model look. That's like, no, let's get someone with like some
Yeah.
muscles, and we see the beauty
I actually
in
haven't seen
that.
the fit ones yet. Like I see that, okay, we're getting away from the size 2, you guys. Thank you, finally.
Yeah.
But I still don't see a ton of like muscular girls in the fashion industry.
Yeah,
Not
that actually,
quite yet. But I think
you're
we're on
not
our way.
wrong. We're on our way. We're on our way. The wheels are in motion to start bringing
Yeah.
in some more, but just the acceptance of like different body types is yeah, let's
For
keep moving
sure.
in that direction. Thank God.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your band that you're in with Nita Strauss. A friend of the program. I love Nita. She's awesome. She's such a cool chick.
So
Now on tour with Demi Lovato.
dude,
What?
every time I look at her Instagram, she's doing something like crazy cool.
Oh
I'm like,
my
dude,
God. I
really feeling
know.
it.
She's got a good gig. I mean, she's super talented. She's awesome. But yeah, I'm like, oh my, I love that she went from like touring with Alice Cooper to being like, oh, I'm going to go do this like whole girl backing band for Demi Lovato. She's out there crushing
But
it.
that's where I've always seen her doing badass female empowerment shit. Like she should be the guitarist for Demi Lovato and Taylor Swift and everyone else.
Agreed. How did you guys hook up?
So long story short, I used to be a little metalhead back when I was like 11, 12. I like loved metal music. I started a little band with my best friend in middle school, and she played the guitar and I played the bass, and we had a falling out. Our parents had a falling out, whatever. I couldn't go to her house anymore. So, but now I had this bass and I was super into like playing music and I wanted to be in a band. So I was 11 years old and I went on the computer to Craigslist and I put out an ad to be an all-girl rock female band and like my influences, which is like Black Sabbath, Pantera, like Slipknot and all this stuff. And I get a response like really quickly from Nita Strauss, Tina St. Clair, and Kirsten Schluter. They were already together in this band and they needed a bass player. So they're like, hey, you know, we really like your ad. Like, will you want to meet us at the mall? We think you'd be a great fit, whatever. I'm like, okay, cool.
Do you want to meet us at the mall? Oh my God, the wholesomeness of it. I love it. Meet at the food court.
Like the Mall, Topanga in the Valley. And I had my mom drive me and she like waited outside while I walked in and they were like standing there. And I had lied about my age. I told them, I think I told them I was 13 because I didn't want them to be like, oh, she's like way too young.
How old were you?
And I was 11, 12.
Okay.
Yeah. And so we get there, we meet up. I mean, you know, Nita's got her little metal look. I had like black tips in my hair. They did like the spike necklace and and like, you know, the studded belt and stuff. I'm like, oh yeah, that's definitely them. So like walk up to them and we just have a little chat. And basically they're like, well, assuming you can play bass, welcome to the band. And that was it.
Gosh.
And we would have band practice 3 times a week. We had like our little studio lockout. Our guitar player, Tina St. Clair, who actually passed away a while back from brain cancer. So rest in peace, Tina. She was amazing. She booked our couple tours throughout the US and, you know, just playing like, it was so, we actually played Warped Tour a couple times.
What?
I was like on like not the main stage, like the side stage. Yes, we did. So it was super fun. It didn't work out. I started coming to my teenage years and like, I was like, oh, whatever, did my thing. But I always knew that Nita was going to be the one to make it because she was just so talented. Like she wrote all of our songs. She helped me with like my bass riffs and stuff because I was still young and learning. And she was just so talented. She came from a musical family. Her dad was a musician as well. I always knew she was going to make it. And like, look at her now. So she walked me out to my world title fight with Neva Hamadouche. Did you see that?
Oh my God, I didn't see that.
Yes, it was something I wanted to do for so long. And so she got on the stage and like ripped the guitar as I walked out for my world title fight. So that was amazing.
Oh my God. And like so that's how I know Nita's, from her coming in to do stuff with WWE and playing out at WrestleManias and doing different people's entrances and stuff. And I was like, look at this chick, just like rip it up.
No.
Crushes in that, like just really owns that stage. That's cool. I'm gonna have to look that up to see her playing you out.
Yeah, it was so cool. So
do you have anything special planned for the O2?
So, everyone knows I'm a huge Spice Girl fan.
I was going to talk to you about this because my first career aspiration was to be a Spice Girl. It didn't pan out, but also a huge Spice Girl fan.
We're all a Spice Girl deep down.
Yes, 100%. Would you be Sporty Spice? Are you Sporty Spice? Is that just like a given?
No, okay, you would think so, but growing up, I was always Ginger Spice.
Really?
Yeah. Just because, you know, you get your friends over and your sisters and we're all dancing to their songs in the living room. Like I was just always Ginger. Like that was just, and I wanted to be Ginger. I wanted to be Ginger.
Ginger was cool.
Yeah. And now I just identify with all of them on different days. Like they help pick out my wardrobe. Like, what am I feeling like today?
Fair enough.
But yeah, I would love to get one of the Spice Girls there. I'm like working on it, trying. If I just need one, I just need at least one of them ringside for this fight.
Who would be like the best bet? I feel like,
well, Sporty Spice, Mel C, like she like DJs and still does music and everything.
Yeah, so. she's still like in the business to a degree. What is Scary Spice doing now?
I don't know. I maybe a little bit of acting. I've seen her doing a little bit of acting.
Okay. Was she doing? I think she was doing
Yeah,
like one of
check
those
her
like
Instagram.
reality shows, like a talent show or something like that. But I could be wrong. I
I
don't
know a
know.
couple of them were on The Circle.
Oh, right, right, right. Posh
Yeah,
is busy. Posh has got her
Posh
own
is
shit going
busy.
on. But the other girls we might be able to tap into.
I would love to. I would love to get one of them there, but yeah, I just feel like I gotta rep the Spice Girls while I'm there, and so probably walking on
What
Spice Girls.
spice you are? Okay, are you saying which song or is that a surprise?
I'll have to leave that for a surprise. I mean,
Okay.
there's like you could probably guess if you
Of
had
course.
to.
Yeah, yeah. It would have, yeah, you'd have to like, you could narrow it down pretty
Yeah, you can
easily,
narrow it
but
down. But yeah, that's
ah,
been my only reference to the UK growing up. So
let it
yep.
fly. Get them
Yeah.
out there. So as I'm flipping through your Instagram and like getting a grasp on who you are, there's a lot of orange. What's with the color orange?
Oh no, that was just my last fight color. So I'm kind of
Oh, okay.
I go really hard with my fight colors to the sense where like when I'm packing for fight week, like everything in my suitcase is orange and I always take pictures of it and stuff. And so I always like stock up for fight week and then like I buy way too much and the orange is sort of like crosses over until the next fight color comes.
So what's your fight color for this?
This is going to be red. I wanted something bold. So I'm going with a bright, bright red. And I just like when my fans, so if you're Team Mikaela, definitely show up in my fight color. So I know that you're Team Mikaela. And it's just like a fun thing. I make all
Yeah.
my family that come, they all have to wear red. We're in the pool the next day. We're all in red bikinis. We go out at night. We're all in red dresses. And it's just a fun thing
Oh,
that
I
I
love
just
that.
got into doing. Yeah.
That's
So I've been
smart. I feel like that's like smart branding. Get that out there. People
yeah,
love that
it's fun.
shit.
So I have a huge red section in my closet now.
What do you
Huge.
do? What do you do with all the old colors when you're buying all the dresses, the bikinis, the pants, all that? Do you
I'm just
hold
collecting
on
an
to it
awesome
or?
just collecting an awesome wardrobe. And anytime anyone needs anything, they just come to my house. I have it in every color.
I feel like, I mean, your closet better be like the like home edit, like color coordinated, all lined
Okay,
up.
so because I'm like renovating my house right now, we're like working on the closet layout. It's gonna be such an awesome, amazing walk-in closet. I will be posting it as soon as it's done.
Hells yes. Your relationship with Marquette King. What
Yeah.
is it like being in a relationship with another athlete? Are you guys super competitive with each other to keep each other on your toes? No.
No, God, not even. He's not like your typical meathead football head at all.
Okay.
Like he's just not. He's more, he does music now, so he's very
Yeah.
artistic like that. Um and yeah, he's like so down to earth and like laid back and like just hippie vibes. Like he's not like what you would expect. So no, we're definitely not competitive like that. But it is nice because when I am in training camp, which is a lot, and he comes to see me, it's like he has no problem falling into my routine. We gotta do this round, we gotta go do this lift, blah blah blah, and
Yeah.
he knows just that we just gotta chill and nothing can be too crazy and exciting. And so yeah, but no, he's great. It's been like we've been like dating for like 2 years now. We met on a
How'd you
dating
guys
app.
meet? Oh, really?
Yeah. Yes. Have
Who
you heard of
messaged who first? What was like that first little
so
chat room situation like?
have you heard of Raya?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so yeah, we met on
Mm-hmm.
Raya
Okay.
and I was in Marquette, Michigan, where I trained because that's where Coach Al lives.
What?
Yes. And so I matched with him and he had messaged me first. And he's like, hey, and he's like, what's up? And I'm like, oh, I'm just in Marquette, Michigan for training camps, which I thought was like so funny because honestly, when I was swiping through that app, I was like so over that app. I was like
Oh,
about to
I'm
delete it.
sure. I'm sure it's
Yeah.
annoying as all hell.
It's like a Tinder for people with
Yeah.
the name. So I
Yeah.
was like, I'm so over this. And I'm like, and he had like some goofy pictures and stuff. And I was like, just step outside your comfort zone, Mikaela. His name is Marquette. It's kind of funny. Okay, I'll like him. And then we matched. And I was in Marquette, Michigan, which I thought was like so funny. And
The stars
yeah,
have aligned.
I know. And so he messaged me and I was getting ready for my first world title fight against Brodnika and he asked if he can come out. I'm like, yeah, for sure. I'm gonna be busy, but I have a bunch of friends coming. They're all getting a suite. Here's my best friend's number. Just like text her when you're there and like I'll meet you guys afterwards. So he literally met up with people he didn't even know, party with my friends all night until I was done fighting. And then I came and met him. Well, he was like already met all my friends. So it was super cool that he was even willing to do that.
Yeah. And also like an interesting time to meet someone for a love connection for the first time because you're like obviously laser focused on the fight, but then like who knows what you're gonna look like post fight going out to meet the guy.
I think it was just showed how like both how we're both so just like kind of laid back and spontaneous because I didn't care. Maybe a lot of girls would have been like, oh no, weird. I was like, yeah, just hit up my friends. I'm busy, but like I'll see you after. And then he actually came. Most people would have probably bought a friend. He didn't even bring a friend. He just like showed up, knocked on the hotel
Here
door.
I am.
Everybody loved him. We had like a super awesome fun time, and the rest is history. That
Oh
was
my
about 2 years ago.
gosh. Great.
Yeah.
I love a good love connection. Hell yes.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to like have that support, know someone that like understands what it's like when you're like, all right, I gotta hunker down and get through this camp right now. And
Yeah, and I always make fun of him too because I'm like, this isn't football, dude. Like, I always say
yeah,
football's like easy
he's a
compared to
punter, right?
boxing.
Punter?
He's a punter, yeah, and I'm
Come on, it's
like,
like a part-time job, you
yeah,
know?
he's even like surprised. He's like, God, you guys train so hard, blah blah. Blah. You tell them, I'm like, I know, dude. And like, we get paid like what pennies compared to what your ass gets paid to kick a ball. We have this video. I'm like, kick a ball, $1 million.
When is that going to come around? When is the money going to start to make sense with what you guys are doing?
Um, it's it's starting.
Yeah.
I'm happy with my pay going into
Good.
this fight. It's definitely like the biggest payday of my career. It's been a gradual progression though, you know.
Yeah.
Um, I've been gradually progressing into this payday, and so I feel like I earned it, and I've done everything that promoters have asked of me.
Mm-hmm.
I've passed every challenge they put in front of me, and so um, it's a gradual progression for me. It's a little interesting, and I'm not even talking shit about this, but like someone like Alicia, who really just came on the scene, what, like 6 months ago, and has gotten nowhere near this amount of money. It's not a natural progression for her. It's a huge jump for her,
Yeah.
right? So it shows, it really does show like how much we've done for the, like us women who have been hustling, have done for the sport. Because I always said I wanted the next generation to come up and be able to challenge a champion and make the money they're worth. That's what Alicia's getting to do.
Yeah.
Like this is nowhere near what the type of money that she's used to making. And
Yeah.
now where women's boxing is, because she's getting this world title fight and this challenge, like she's making a huge purse. And so that just shows how far women's boxing has come, that she's been able to come out of nowhere and get it.
What is your take on somebody like Jake Paul and what he's done in the boxing world? Is that controversial? Do we talk about that?
Oh, we can talk. Listen, I don't hate on anybody's hustle. Okay. And this is like a new era where social media is such a factor and really matters because these are the amount of people that you can sell your product to, right? And so if
Yeah.
he has millions of followers on YouTube and all these Twitter followers and Instagram, whatever, then like of course he's gonna be a sell. He's gonna sell. People are gonna pay attention. And it's just a new era of media and where we are today. So I don't mind. He's doing what he wants to do. Do I think he's one of the most elite boxers out there? Absolutely not. He's a very, very, very long way to go. And so if he wants to be respected, I think amongst the boxing community and the real boxers, then he's gonna have to continue to take on challenges and take big fights and grow into that role. Um, as far as what he's doing for Amanda Serrano, great. Like
Yeah.
it's so hard to find a good team. It's so hard to find good management that really looks out for you and hustles for you and gets you what you're worth. And so if he's doing that for her, then that's awesome for her and good for him.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting to see what he's done to take Amanda Serrano under his wing and kind of put her on that Jake Paul brand and strap that rocket to her back and see what they do with it. But yeah, like you said, people making money and get their name out there, you can't really hate on that.
It's just different times. It's just different times. And like I can get a
Totally.
lot of boxers are upset about it because they're like, we work so hard and I'm like, but it's just a different world.
Yeah.
It's why social media is just so important these days. Like it can take you so far and it can help build your brand so much. So
Do
yeah.
you like being on social media? Not with an eye roll.
I used to be into it so much more, and I feel like as I'm like growing a little bit older and maturing, I feel like I'm craving a little bit more like privacy.
Yeah.
I've just noticed this in like the past year or two because I'm just not like I used to like post me every day, and it was like fun for me, blah blah blah. And now I'm like, ugh. But I know I have to because it's part of branding, it's part of marketing,
Yeah.
it's part of what I gotta do. So you know.
Oh, the frustrations. No, I know. I can definitely jump on board with that one. I'd be like, I'm doing this, and here's my outfit for the day, and blah, blah, blah. Now I'm like, oh my God, who's
I'm like,
got
who
the
cares
time?
what you're wearing, Mikaela?
Who gives a shit? Totally. Oh my God, it's exhausting.
I
Okay, so
know.
you've mentioned Coach Al a few times.
Mhm.
What are like some good Coach Al isms? What are like some little nuggets of wisdom that he has dropped on you throughout your career with him over the last 13 years?
Oh God, I should be able to just drop so many quotes from him. But it's funny. The thing about Coach Al is nothing he says is like rocket science, right? Everything he says is just very practical. It's like what he says, we already all know. Like when he tells me things, I'm like, you already know that, but he says it in such a way that it just makes everything seem so simple and like clear. Um, which is like great to have. But he keeps me, he keeps me grounded. Even with this whole thing going on, we went to go do like this little media thing for ESPN. And it was the first time me and Alicia had to go like face to face. And I was kind of nervous, not because I had to talk this shit to this bitch in her face because I've been waiting for that moment, but because I'm like, Coach Al's gonna see a side of me that he's never seen. And so
Mm.
I even told him on the way there, I'm like, Coach, like this is what they want us to do. Like if you see a side of me that you takes you back a little bit, like just know this is part of the game. This is just what I have to do. Because he doesn't like a lot of talking, He wants me to respect my opponents and work hard and don't take anyone cheap. And he's always kept me like really hardworking and humble in that sense, which is good to have. But he's also seen how this girl talks, and he's like, he wasn't mad at all about it. He was like, oh, I really just want you. I hate to say this, but I don't want you just to beat her. I want you to hurt her. I really want you just to shut her up. I'm like, okay. And that's like the most like shit talking Coach Oliver does.
He seems very sweet. Just seeing him like on your Instagram, like doing like dancing and stuff. Like, oh my God.
He's
Yeah,
the
he's
greatest. He's got so much knowledge and like that's where all my people ask like, how do you deal with all the pressure and like this, everything that goes into these big fights. And it's like him, honestly.
mhm.
Like I just know that he would never put me in a position that I wasn't ready for. He knows that I'm ready and he keeps me working hard. And so I really just don't even know if I could continue my career if anything were to happen to him. Like it would be really,
Yeah.
really big adjustment, very hard.
So from everything that you have already achieved, like, we've rattled some of them off already from, being at the Olympics to co-headlining this giant event at the O2 Arena, your amazing record that you have throughout your career. What do you want your legacy to be in this sport?
Um, I just want my legacy to be that I fought everybody. Like that's why I'm like pushing these fights to happen because um I don't ever want to be one of those champions that just holds on to belts or takes easy fights to keep that belt. Like at the end of the day, those are just belts. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
I really want to leave this sport knowing that I challenge myself. I put myself in uncomfortable positions. And if I fail doing that, then honestly, I don't care. Like at least I know I tried, and at least I can't. I won't have any regrets. And like I genuinely feel that way. That's why I'm up for the challenge for Alicia Baumgardner. And after that, I want to take on Troy to become undisputed. And after that, I want to go to 135 and I want to take on Katie Taylor. And I would
Hell
love to
yeah.
take on Serrano, but I know she went down to a lower weight, and I'm not going any lower than 130. But Delphine Pursoon, all these names that in this era, I want to be able to fight them,
Yeah.
and I want to be able to put on exciting fights for the fans.
Well, we are all very much so looking forward. September 10th, the O2 Arena. That's going to be on ESPN Plus, so everybody can check that out. All women from top to bottom on that card. Do not miss it. Best of luck to you. I'm super psyched to watch this and also to see just which Spice Girl song you go with.
Right on. Well, you know my color, so wherever you are, throw on your best red outfit
Hell
and
yeah.
get in front
Red's
of the
my
TV.
happy color. Red's like a good, powerful color. Red makes me feel like I can like get some shit done during the day.
It
So
is powerful, looks good with a nice tan, and Tiger Woods always said, "Victory red."
I love that. Well, thank you so much for hopping on here with me. I really appreciate it. And yeah, truly best of luck September 10th.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
For sure.
Bye.
Bye.